I was gonna rip his heart out, I'm the best ever. I'm the most brutal and vicious and most ruthless champion there's ever been. There's no one can stop me. Lennox is a conqueror, no, I'm Alexander, he's no Alexander. I'm the best ever, there's never been anybody ruthless. I'm Sonny Liston, I'm Jack Dempsey, there's no one like me. I'm from their claw, there's no one that can match me. My style is impetuous, my defense is impregnable, and I'm just ferocious. I want your heart, I want to eat his children. Praise be to Allah.
Welcome back to the Bout the Ropes podcast here on Keep It Real Boxing. I am your host, Cypherbox, and let's get into it. So what do I want to talk about today? Look, we're going to get into a few things. We're going to get into a bit of Dillian Whyte versus Tyson Fury. We're going to talk a bit of Canelo, Ryan Garcia, a little bit of Canelo, Mayweather. We're going to talk a little bit about maybe DEMETRIUS, ANDRADE a little bit. We're also going to touch in a little bit. We're going to get a little political on this one today, because we're going to talk about the WBA and their decision to potentially not sanction Dmitry Bivol's fight against Canelo Alvarez due to the conflict between Ukraine and Russia. So we're going to get in a little bit of politics today, a little political today. So a lot of topics to get through. So let's get started. Now, I always give a bit of a fanboy warning during the intro of the podcast, where I warn you guys, turn back now, turn away now kind of thing, right? Because I know how sensitive some of you guys are, yeah? So I'm going to start off with Dillian Whyte versus Tyson Fury. Now, as you know, the fight has been made, it's been signed, the contracts have been signed. It was a massive purse bid from Frank Warren, Top Rank, Queensbury, Bob Arum and ESPN, $41 million, I believe it was. It works out at a 80-20 split according to the rules of the WBC. Now, the other week I did make a point where I did a single video on this, and it was only to announce that the fight was made. I did turn around and say that it's unusual to see an 80-20 split for a mandatory defense of the title or mandatory challenge. Usually it's something like 70-30 or 75-25 or 65-35 or whatever. Do you know what I mean? It's usually a pretty good fair share for the champion, gets the bulk of it, of course, and rightfully so, because they're the champion, but the challenger gets a nice chunk as well. With regards to Dillian Whyte and the WBC and all his moans and his groans and making it out like he's been hard done by, like, basically I'm gonna say it how I've always said it, his divish behavior. Don't get me wrong, we have plenty of those in boxing. We have many of those in boxing, who behave that way in terms of boxing in terms of boxers themselves. But I have to agree, the rulings are always usually a 70. I've always known the WBC to do a 70-30 split. So why they changed it up for this one? Maybe it got to do something with the arbitration, the legal arbitration that I think is still going on. Obviously, no one can talk about it, so we don't know if it's going on, if it's been finished. You'd think it would have been over by now because they are fighting each other and the contracts have been signed. I don't know. Look, I don't know the legalities, and I'm not going to go too deep into it. We've had Dillian complain in the past about WBC, saying that, it's been 10,000 years since I've been waiting for my title shot and all that stuff, even though he's had opportunities, and I am going to cover those off right now for you. I've talked about this in the past, so I don't want to spend too much time on it. All right, he was ordered to fight Luis Ortiz in a final eliminator match. Let me explain something to you guys, which people don't seem to understand. Everyone was saying, why does he have to fight a final eliminator fight? He's the #1 contender. That is the rule for every sanctioning body. It's how they make money. They are an organization. They are a profit organization. They're not a charity or a charity foundation organization or anything like that. That's how they make their money, right? So they have to have these sort of policies in place to make money, okay? And it's in every single sanctioning body. right? The WBC, the WBA, WBO, IBF all do the same. Okay, being number one contender is not enough. Should it be champion versus number one contender? Yes, I agree it should be, but that's not the rules. Yeah, but to turn around and say that the WBC are the only ones who are doing this is incorrect, right? Okay, when you become the number one contender, you have to still fight in a final elimination fight for all your mandatory position. Okay, so Dillian Whyte obviously was complaining he wasn't getting his shot against Deontay Wilder at the time. He was a champion at the time. Was told, hey, fight Luis Ortiz, that's going to be your final elimination match. Yeah, beat him, you get your shot against Wilder. He turned it around. His excuses were, oh, Luis Ortiz doesn't speak English. No one knows who Luis Ortiz is. Luis Ortiz doesn't sell pay-per-views. Luis Ortiz is old, he's easy, I'll knock him out with one punch. Okay, he refused. Now what's supposed to happen in that situation is the WBC is then, okay, you refuse, we're going to move on to the next number two then. Yeah, we're going to go to the number two contender and ask them if they want to fight Luis Ortiz in a final elimination. They didn't do that. Okay, they then reordered that again, Luis Ortiz versus Dillian Whyte. Dillian Whyte, for the same reasons, refused it. Okay, later on down the line, he fights Oscar Rivas. Oscar Rivas, let's be real, none of you lot really know who Oscar Rivas is. I barely knew who he was. I saw a couple of his fights, but none of us really did. Let's be honest about that. The guy can't sell a pay-per-view. No one really knows who he is. He doesn't speak any English, but you were happy for that fight to be a final elimination fight. Yeah? Which obviously Dillian won. We know Dillian, failed a drug test. And in my opinion, the British Boxing Board of Control covered that up nicely and he got away with it. All right? Hey, let's not hold that against Dillian, yeah? But not only that, prior to that final elimination fight with Oscar Rivas, he was offered to fight AJ. AJ offered him something like 5.5 million, which would have been his biggest payday ever. Now, his problem was not only the amount of money that was being offered, but it's also his problem was Dillian Whyte was that AJ was saying that the rematch clause would be a 50-50 split. So the rematch would be a 50-50 split. And they started complaining, that's not on, I'm not having that, I should have control of the rematch and the split and blah, blah, blah. I get where Dillian Whyte's coming from, yeah? In terms of a fairness point of view for that one, I understand where he's coming from. But what you also need to understand is that's called A-side power, yeah? Floyd Mayweather did the same thing, yeah? He always had a rematch clause and he always had the stipulations for that rematch, how it was going to go in terms of the business side of it all, who's going to make what money, etc. and stuff like that, yeah? And AJ did the same thing on the A side. I'm going to dictate to you what it's going to look like, the rematch clause. Yeah, I'm sure Canelo Alvarez would do the same thing. Yeah, that's called A side power. But here's my point. Yeah, although, yeah, I see where Dillian Whyte was coming from. At the same time, yeah, Dillian needs to look at it this way. It was 5.5 million or 4 million or whatever you want to call it. It was still his biggest payday. Yeah, highest payday he ever got. Now, in the rematch, you're going to get a 50-50 split. That rematch is going to be worth a lot more money, and that 50% is going to be a lot more than the money you got for the first fight. Now, you've had two back-to-back fights with probably the UK's biggest superstar when it comes to boxing, yeah, who has got a bit of a global appeal as well. Maybe not as much in America, but in other territories like the Middle East, etc., stuff like that. So you're raising you're increasing your brand name by doing that, yeah. And then when you go on to make other fights at the heavyweight, people are going to be interested in seeing you. And they're going to pay to make you watch. I'm talking about looking at the long game, yeah? Whereas I feel like Dillian Whyte very much looks at the short game. All right? So, Dillian's had all these moans and groans over the last few years. I don't agree with everyone else. Sorry, I feel like he's had ample opportunities to have title shots over the years. He's just been a diva and turned them all down. Yeah, he's literally had two opportunities to become the mandatory challenger against Deontay Wilder, didn't take it. Yeah, turned them down. All right, AJ offered him a title shot, turned it down. Biggest payday, biggest package he was ever going to receive, turned it down. All right, now he finally gets himself into the position with Tyson Fury. All right, there was a whole load of this last minute signing of the contract, etc. and stuff like that went on. Now, people were like, he's playing mind games, he's just leaving it to the last minute and stuff like that. Okay, cool. He might be playing those mind games. People thought he was really clever for doing that. I don't personally think that's going to work against someone like Tyson Fury. It might wind up his promoters. I know it's wound up Frank Warren a little bit because he did turn up. We'll get into that in a minute. I'm not going to go too deep into that just yet. But, you know, I don't think that was going to work against Tyson Fury. I think Tyson Fury is the master at mind games. Is it the case that he just doesn't want to engage in mind games because, you know, he wants to maintain his focus for the fight? Maybe. But also at the same time, there was the element where I feel like he was probably trying to hold BT Sports, Top Rank, etc., Tyson Fury, Team Fury to ransom by saying, listen, if you don't offer me more money, I'm not going to sign the contract. You're not going to get a fight. Yeah. And I felt he tried to play that game and it failed. And when it came to lastminute.com, he was like, okay, I need to sign the dotted line. But guess what? I'm not turning up. I'm not promoting the fight. Okay. He signed the contract. He's getting paid what? Just under $8 million, is it? Which is, again, his biggest payday. His biggest payday. That's more than what Anthony Joshua offered him, sorry. Yeah? That's more than what Anthony Joshua offered him. His biggest payday he's receiving right now. Okay? Now, from what I've heard in the Frank Warren interviews lately, he is contractually obligated to turn up to the press conferences and promote the fight, which he's not meeting at the moment. Now, whether Frank's going to want to take that further or not, from a legal standpoint, I have no idea. I'm not going to go into it. Okay? But there's a lot of like, oh, Dillian hasn't turned up for the press conference. It's really disappointing that he's not turned up, etc., etc., etc. Here's my take on it, really. I would have loved to seen Dillian Whyte and Tyson Fury go at it. Yeah, these are two of the biggest trash talkers in boxing. I love a good trash talker. I hate boring boxers. Yeah, Vladimir Klitschko for me was probably the most boring boxer on the planet. He may have been successful in the ring. He may have been a decent fighter. However, I felt he was boring as hell in the build-ups to his fight. I want excitement. I want to be entertained outside of the ring as well. You understand? Not only do I want to see a great fight, but I wanted to see two fighters really go at each other verbally. All right? I enjoy that. Yeah? Some of you guys might not like that, whatever. Me personally, it's the fight game. I want to see fighters like that. Yeah? I want to see the chess match. I want to see the psychological warfare. Yeah? And that is part of the psychological warfare. All right, and I enjoy it, yeah, and it's entertaining, right? So I would have loved to have seen these two go at it with each other, all right, back and forth. You can imagine what it would have been like. It would have been great, yeah, and yeah, it would have been great promotion. But end of the day, Dillian Whyte has decided he's not going to turn up. Again, he's not happy with certain elements of the contract. I believe his attorney, his lawyer, whatever, has come out. His American lawyer has come out and made some points that they weren't happy about. Money not being in the escrow. So apparently, oh, here's another thing I forgot to mention this, that if Dillian Whyte wins, whoever wins, they get additional 4 million, is it, which is supposed to be held in escrow. But apparently, according to the WBC, the money doesn't need to be in the escrow until 7 weeks out from the fight. So 7 weeks out from the fight, that's when the money needs to be in the escrow. It doesn't need to be there right now. Okay, but personally, in my opinion, I don't see, if you've got the money now, just put it in an escrow now. Yeah, I don't see what the big deal is there. Like, why not put the money there now? Yeah, but again, maybe they need to get the money as well. Let's not forget that, right? So, trying to be objective as I can here, right? But Dillian Whyte has decided he's not going to come to the press conference, which don't get me wrong, Tyson Fury is always entertaining and he made it as funny as he could. Do you know what I mean? But it was disappointing not to see him there. But again, at the same time, all I've got to say to everyone is that, has the fight been signed? Are the contracts signed? Have both fighters committed to fight each other in the ring? Yes. Let's be happy with that. Okay, we're not going to get the pre-fight antics that we usually get from fighters, especially ones as, I suppose, entertaining as these two are. Okay, in that sense, we've seen Dillian Whyte and his exchanges with Derek Chisora, AJ, etc., and Tyson Fury is the same with Wilder and many more. But end of the day, we're getting the fight. That's what matters. Okay, as long as both guys turn up and they step into the ring and they exchange hands and they go to war with each other, let's be happy with that. Yeah, that's the most important thing, is that the fighters get into the ring. All right. Now, a lot of other people are also feeling like Dillian Whyte's trying to. Dillian Whyte is being told by Eddie Hearn that don't promote the fight, don't turn up to the press conferences, etc., etc. We don't know if that's true or if that's false. Yeah, I've said a lot of things about Eddie in the past. Yeah, it could be believable, don't get me wrong, but at the same time, I'm not behind the scenes to be able to tell you that or not. Okay, but that could be one thing that's going on, for all we know. But we could all massively be wrong with that, and that might not be happening as well. But and the other thing is that they're trying to bring up the whole, how do I say it? He's trying to ruin the promotion, etc., and stuff like that. Part of me thinks, like, why would you want to do that? Like, why would you want to ruin your own promotion to a fight of that magnitude? Yeah, and I'm sure a lot of you are probably saying that same thing, because he's not getting a percentage of anything, from what I hear. He's getting Dillian Whyte's getting his 7-8 million, whatever it is, and if he wins, he gets the 4 million sitting in escrow, right? What does that work out to? Like 12 million, maybe 13 million for Dillian, right? In the end, if he wins the fight, okay, that's all he's getting. He's not getting a percentage of the pay-per-view, from what I understand, merchandising, all the other stuff that goes with it. I don't even think he's getting money for the gate receipts either. This is all going to Tyson Fury and his team, all right? But you got to understand as well, Dillian needs to understand, you lost the purse bid. Yeah, you guys had an opportunity to thrash out a contract. You couldn't agree terms. Your promoters couldn't agree terms. It went to purse bid. You lost the purse bid. Now that purse bid is in the hands of Frank Warren and Bob Arum, and they can do whatever they want with it. Yeah. Okay, you need to understand that as well. On the flip side, Dillian can do whatever he wants too. I suppose he doesn't have to turn up if he doesn't want to turn up. He asked for a private jet apparently as well, because he didn't want to fly on a commercial flight because he was afraid of getting sick, catching COVID, things like that. Do you know what? I can understand that. That bit I can understand, you know, and I don't think it would kill. I don't know how much a private jet costs, yeah, right, from Portugal to the UK, but I'm sure they could have probably pulled out a bit of cash and said, look, listen, Dillian, we'll fly you out on a private jet. We understand. We want you here for the promotion. So we're going to fly you out and bring you out here to the UK, you know, on a private jet. I don't think it's going to kill them that much to be able to do that for him. And remember, at the same time, you're securing and guaranteeing the safety of the fighter in the midst of a pandemic. Yeah, we're at an endemic now, of course. So we're here in the UK, we are anyway. So maybe that's something that they could have just like kind of said, okay, cool, look, you know, he's not getting a percentage, he's not getting a cut of the gate receipts or anything like that. He's just getting his contractual or his contractual amount, right, which is obviously the 20% and then additional if he wins. Okay, so at least let's fly him out, let's give him that much at least, and get him out here for the presser, right? So I feel on that flip side, I think they could have at least done that. I think Frank Warren could have like kind of swallowed his pride, you know, and said, hey, you know what, Dillian, it's okay, we'll fly you out like that, no problem. You know, how much would that cost? 10 grand, 20 grand? I don't know. How much is a I don't know. I don't fly privately. I don't know these things. 5 grand? Like, come on. Look at the amount of money you're making. You're gonna make. So fly the guy out for 5 grand. Bring him out there. Let's have a real hot, press conference. But they obviously not to do that, I'm guessing, and he didn't come out. At the same time, the concern for Dillian Whyte is obviously, apparently, according to Frank Warren, he is contractually obligated to turn up to these press conferences. That could bite him in the backside later on down the line. I don't know whether Frank Warren will take legal action or anything like that. Personally, I think he should just leave it alone. You know, fighters in a day deserve the money that they're getting, in my opinion, and this is his highest payday, so allow him that. You know, just let it off, let it go. You know, hopefully Dillian turns up for fight week press conferences. He'll have to turn up for the weigh-in. So, in short, you know, it's an absolute mess. Yeah, because you've got two warring sides, two competing sides. Eddie Hearn, Frank Warren, Queensberry, Matchroom. You know, you had DAZN on one side, you had top-ranked ESPN and BT on the other side, and White and Fury, of course. But in my opinion, yeah, I think they could have there's just certain things both sides could have kind of done and said, look, okay, cool, I get it, you're in control of the purse birds, I get it, this is the amount of money I'm going to get, this is what I'm going to get on, you know, the if I win, any chance I can get, you know, a percentage of the pay-per-view. Sure, Dillian will give you 5% of the pay-per-views, etc., stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? It could have been all dealt with, you know, they could have all been dealt with in a more professional manner, is what I'm trying to say. Yeah, they could have amicably sorted that out, but they opted not to. And yeah, I don't see why Frank Warren couldn't turn around and say, look, listen, Dillian, we'll fly you out on a private jet just to get you to the press conference. We really want you here, etc., to promote the fight. Yeah, there's loads of things that could have been done to avoid all the mess. To completely put it all on Dillian Whyte, and me trying to be as objective as I can with this, to put it all on Dillian Whyte would be wrong. You know, I think there's some elements you got, you know, some element of the blame has to go on the other side as well, where they weren't willing to. Ego's got in the way, basically. Yeah, ego's got in the way of Dillian Whyte not being at that press conference. And it's a shame. But listen, the key thing is, and there's a lot of fans out there fighting back forward and arguing with back and forth with each other. Listen, the fight's going to happen. Yeah, I'm going to be shocked if one of these fighters don't turn up to fight. It's a hell of a lot of money. That fight is happening. Yeah, Dillian Whyte, come on, he can't afford to let 8 million go. Just like Tyson Fury can't afford to let, what was it for him? 31 million, 29 million, whatever it is. Was it? How much is it for Tyson Fury? Just his guarantee is massive as well. Neither of these guys can afford to let that go. That's money that they're going to need for their future investments and retirement and stuff like that. So the fight's going to happen, in my opinion. I'm not going to be standing here picking sides and saying, oh, Dillian's not going to turn up, Fury's going to back out, blah, blah, blah. No, the fight's going to happen. The only disappointing thing is that they couldn't agree on some little details that could have got Dillian Whyte to the press conference, in my opinion. Yeah, and yeah, you Tyson Fury fanboys might come out and slag me off and say, well, why should they have to do that? And Dillian Whyte's fans are probably going to slag me off with what I've just said about him. I don't care. Yeah, this is my opinion. This is why I give you that warning at the beginning of the podcast. Fanboys, turn back now. Okay, but that's my take on it. Yeah, they could have easily sorted this issue out. Yeah, some of these issues out if they sat down as professionals and just thrashed it out. Like, okay, Dillian, we can't give you that. However, we can give you this, Dillian. I don't believe that was even talked about, because I remember hearing Bob Arum saying that, yeah, he's demanding that he gets more money. He goes, listen, I'll give him a little bit on the back end we'll give him a little bit on the back end if he wants, like a percentage of the pay-per-view buys. But that's it. So that just tells me that you haven't even had that conversation. You've not even tried to approach him. Now, whether that's because you have to go through everything through his lawyer, because there is a legal arbitration going on with the WBC at the moment, I don't know. But then fine, contact his lawyer and say, look, this is what we're offering. CC his lawyer, send an email to his lawyer, CC Dillian in, so and even Eddie Hearn, include him into it. He is his promoter. He might not be involved with this promotion, but those are the people that are advising Dillian. Yeah. So look, it's who you want to believe, kind of thing. Yeah. And if you're a Tyson Fury fan, you're going to believe the Fury team. If you're a Dillian Whyte fan, you're going to believe the Dillian Whyte team. You know, that's how it works. So, but in my opinion, look, disappointing that Dillian didn't show up. However, in my opinion as well, the fight is happening. I don't see both fighters dropping this payday. It's a massive payday for both guys. We will see these two guys in the ring, you know, barring any injuries or any issues like that. You know, and I hope no one pulls a stunt like that either, like they've got a fake injury or something like that. That would just pee me off. Yeah. This is Dillian Whyte's shot. He's been crying about it for God knows how long. This is an opportunity for Tyson Fury now to fight on a big stage here in the UK at Wembley Stadium. We'll talk about tickets in a minute. But look, that's how I see it. The fight's happening. I'm happy as a boxing fan the fight's happening. Would I like Dillian Whyte to be at the promotion to promote the fight and get involved? Absolutely. If he doesn't, I'm not going to lose any sleep about it as long as the fight happens. Because as a real boxing fan, the main thing is that the fight happens. Yeah, I like trash talking and all that sort of stuff and entertainment in the build-up. But the key thing is the fight is happening. And that's what matters the most. So, guys, stop your moaning, stop picking sides, stop your moaning, groaning and complaining. We've got a fight. Let's be excited for that. Was it April 23rd? It's on. Here we've got a little tweet from Michelle Joy Phelps, and before I carry on, shout out to her and her YouTube channel Behind the Gloves. They just hit 300,000 subscribers on that channel, so got to give her some props for that, because that's not easy, and that's an amazing achievement. Yeah, and considering there's so many boxing YouTube channels out there that are similar, especially the ones that are similar to her, where she goes around interviewing people around the world, you know, that takes some hustle, you know, so give her her props, got to give her her props. So shout out to her. But she put out a tweet here saying, why are people surprised by the demand for Fury Whyte tickets? I'd be shocked if there wasn't. Okay, and then there's a guy who replied to her, was in a queue and behind 90,000 others for tickets. Huge demand. Yeah, and then he's done like the whole explosion imagery, exploding head thing. Yeah, okay, and I think there was some other stuff that this guy put up in his reply. Let's just have a quick look. And as you can see, there's some tweets here, and it says, you know, people currently ahead of you, 166,000, etc. And basically showing you how many people were in the queue and how much of a demand there was for it. I believe that they've sold 85,000 tickets at the moment. I think Frank Warren was saying that there's 5,000 coach tickets or whatever for people coming from other areas of the country who want to watch the fight. And they've also requested now to up the capacity to 100,000 seats for the fight. Okay, the whole thing about StubHub and all this sort of stuff came on. You know, we know Frank Warren has been talking about StubHub and Eddie Hearn and Matchroom. I've touched on this in the past as well, where, you know, StubHub were kind of caught out for the way they were creating secondary markets. So they would go in and they would buy up all the tickets to events at the O2, or for example, and then sell those up on their platform on a secondary market and really mark up the ticket prices. So something like that costs £55 or something like that, when that costs you £500, if that makes sense. And he was calling out Eddie Hearn, saying that they were allowing StubHub to do this. And StubHub was the main ticket controller for Eddie Hearn's Anthony Joshua fights. Yeah. Okay, and it was obviously exposed by the by a newspaper. I think it was The Record who exposed it, and it was basically, it was a bit of a scam, the way of scamming fans, yeah, and extorting money out of them for tickets that shouldn't have cost the amount they were on StubHub. So someone said that they found some tickets on StubHub for Fury versus Whyte, but Frank Warren turned around and said that our main ticket seller or our ticket distributor is Ticketmaster, and he goes, if StubHub came on there and bought up tickets and then sold them on the secondary market on their platforms, he goes, I've got no control over that, there's nothing I can do about it. He goes, my advice to fans would be, I'd rather those seats be empty and don't buy them. Okay, so who's telling the truth, who's not, I'm not going to get into it, because like I said, I'm not behind the scenes. But you know, there's all this bickering and funny situations going on in boxing right now. There's tribes in boxing. I've talked about this before. You've got, Tyson Fury, Dillian Whyte fans and AJ fans or whatever now accusing, Arum of the same thing. I think AJ made a sly remark about it the other day on an interview with IFL TV. They're moaning, the Dillian Whyte fans out there are actually saying it, because I've heard them call into other podcasts and shows and stuff like that on YouTube and Spotify and things like that, saying that, this fight's not going to do well. I don't think the pay-per-view numbers are going to do well. The ticket sales are going to be they're not going to do well and stuff like that. And I think they're all saying that because they know Dillian Whyte's not getting a cut of any of that. Yeah, and they're praying and hoping that the fight's not successful. Okay. Yeah, because like I said, a lot of the Dillian Whyte fans are actually AJ fans. Yeah, let's be real, they're actually AJ fans. All right. And then you got the Tyson Fury fans on the other side saying that they're going to do 1.5 million pay-per-view buys and they're going to sell out stadiums and all that sort of stuff. Listen, yeah, as a boxing fan, you should just care that the fight's happening and support the damn event. Okay, the fact that you guys are sitting there wishing that someone you don't even know is going to fall flat on their face on their promotion or whatever it is a joke. Yeah, I can't believe it's come to this now, where we've got boxing fans now wishing, instead of wishing for fights would get made, yeah, like this, right? Instead of wishing for that, they're now wishing that the fight is a failure. Yes, we want the fight to be a failure. We want the sport to hurt. You know, we want less money in the sport. You know, we want to attract less people to the sport, you know, which could potentially add to fighters' purses going forward, because now if you're growing the sport, you've got more eyes on the sport, you've got more people tuning in, you've got more people paying for the pay-per-views, which means the fighters make more money. No, we don't want that. Of course not, as boxing fans, you know, because you know why? Because everyone just thinks in their own little bubble. Yeah, they think about their favorite fighter, and yeah, I want to see this fail because Dillian's not getting his fair share. Okay, cool. But if this was a massive, major success, and people around the world start to get to know who Dillian Whyte, whether he wins or loses, it doesn't matter. If he puts on a good show like he always does, and he is a good fighter, he's a really good fighter, yeah. If he puts on a show, remember, even when you lose, like in my opinion, in the third fight against Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder's stock did not drop; it rose because of the heart and the determination he showed in that fight. That makes sense. Okay, so the same would apply for Dillian Whyte. Sometimes even when a guy loses in the ring, when a fighter loses in the ring, their stock can rise massively. Yeah, so later on down the line, if Dillian was to fight out in the US against a top heavyweight out there, he's drawn that attention to it because he had a great fight with Tyson Fury at Wembley Stadium, which was a massive promotion that did well, that did great. Do you understand? This is what I don't understand, is how people can actually wish that upon. Because actually, when you're wishing stuff like that, you're actually hurting your favourite fighter. You're not helping them. Yeah? And I feel like Dillian's a bit short-sighted, maybe a little bit in this situation. That's just my personal opinion. But I think him not turning up to promotion, like I already told you, can hurt him in that way. Will it? Won't it? I don't know. Yeah? I just feel it would. That's just, remember, this is just my opinion. I don't know for definite if this is going to hurt him or help him or not. Yeah, I'm just giving my opinion here, but I just feel like I don't understand boxing fans these days. You're more set on arguing and debating the business of boxing than you are the actual fights themselves. I'm shocked by it. Yeah, listen, the tickets have done well. That's great news for the sport. That's what you want to see. Yeah, okay, Dillian's not getting any more than he's been contracted to get, because guess what? His team lost the purse bid. Really, what you should be doing is getting on the back of Eddie Hearn as to why he lost that purse bid, because he should have bid a lot more then. No? Or is it because DAZN and Eddie didn't want to bid so much on Dillian Whyte? It's because in the back of the head they knew, like, hold on, we need to offer a lot of money to Canelo Alvarez, and Canelo Alvarez is our golden boy, our golden ticket at the moment, or the golden goose. Yeah. So, how much faith does that show in Dillian Whyte? That could be a reason as to why, you know, DAZN with their bags of money did not make a higher bid. But then remember, if you watched last week's podcast, I did touch that, you know, they've just filed, DAZN have just filed their end of year P&L sheet, or whatever it is, their accounts, yeah, and they made a $1.5 billion loss out in the States. So hey, look, I just think fight fans should just start turning around and just be happy that the fights are being made. Right? Let the promoters and all them lot worry about the business side of things, yeah? But to wish that a fight would do badly and hurt the sport because there'll be less eyes on it, I don't understand that mentality. I hope the fight does really well and attracts more fans and new fans to the sport, yeah? And yeah, a lot of them are going to be casual fans, but that's where the money comes from, unfortunately. Yeah? That's the way I look at it. I don't understand boxing fans' mentality these days. I remember back 20 years ago, yeah, when I was watching boxing, you just cared that the fight was being made. You didn't care about the money or the business side of it. You just like, Pacquiao's fighting this guy, yeah, Floyd's fighting this guy, yeah. Oscar's fighting this guy, yeah. Do you know what I mean? Roy Jones fight. Do you know what I mean? Like, you just cared the fight was being made. You didn't give a damn about the business element of all of it, you know. So, look, I do talk about business here. I get it. A lot of people are saying, "Well, Saif, you spend a lot of time talking about the business side of it." Yeah, like, but I've got to give you guys commentary on things that are happening in the sport, right? That's my job. Okay, but at the end of it, I don't care as long as the fight gets signed. Yeah, that's my job to analyze the situation. Yeah, but as boxing fan, the main thing is that we should care is that the fights get made. And in this situation with Dillian Whyte and Tyson Fury, the fight is being made. So why wish it bad? Tune in. Do you know what I mean? Pay your pay-per-view or go and watch the fight if you can still get hold of tickets. Go and watch it live and enjoy yourself. There's a lot of other gripes as well where people are saying like they don't think the pay-per-views are going to do well because with BT Sport, you know, if you're a Sky subscriber, you have to purchase it online and then stream it cast it onto your TV or wherever it is. And I'm a Sky Sports subscriber, yeah, a Sky subscriber, sorry, yeah, okay. When I've had to purchase BT Sports ones, yeah, right, in the past, I've done it online because you don't have that red button option or whatever it is they were talking about, which isn't true because I think with the Sky Q boxes you do have that option, yeah, but you have to do it on the main box. From what I'm pretty sure I've done that before. But if you want to watch it on another box in your house, then yeah, you'd have to do it that way, yeah. But yeah, I don't see what the problem is. I've bought fights on the Fight app. Have you seen the Fight app? Yeah, watched it that way. Do you know what I mean? People watch fights on the Zone app on their phones and their tablets. Do you see what I mean? Like, what's the big deal? I don't understand that. But anyway, from what I hear as well, that now you have got that option. If you're a Sky customer, you can press the red button, just like Sky Box Office. You can actually now order the fight that way, and it will be on your TV. Yeah, so you don't have to worry about having to purchase it online and then casting it onto your TV or wherever it is from your phone or your tablet, etc. Yeah, seriously, you can do that now. So again, but that's another way where fight fans, I believe, are looking to saying that that's why the pay-per-view is going to do badly because people won't buy it like that. I'm like, come on, if you really want to watch a fight, you will do it. Yeah, stop the nonsense, man. Yeah, okay, I might have got some things wrong there with that whole red button issue, but like, I might not have been too accurate with it because I haven't looked into it in depth. I'm just talking about what I've been hearing from interviews and stuff like that. Yeah, but again, stop it, man. The fight is on. Be excited for it. Let's do it, man. Let's see these two go at it. Will Dillian knock Tyson Fury on his backside? Will Dillian knock out Tyson Fury and beat him and be the first guy to beat Tyson Fury? That's exciting. Yeah, or will Tyson Fury continue his dominance in the heavyweight division? That's what you should care about. You should be excited about seeing the outcome of that fight. Okay, all right. I think I've said enough about Tyson Fury and Dillian Whyte, this whole situation. I think I've spent more time on it than I wanted to. I've spent about 40 minutes talking about it. So let's move on to the next subject. Okay, so look, there's been a lot of talk regarding Ryan Garcia lately, his split from Eddie Reynoso and Team Canelo. Recently, Canelo did an interview which Ryan Garcia reacted to, and I'm just going to play you the audio from that interview. I will link the interview in the description of the video of this podcast, as always, guys. So here it is.
Obviously, Ryan was with you, with Eddie, 5 fights, 5 knockouts. What do you think happened there?
I don't know what happened, really. I don't know what he's thinking about it, but he said he wants more time, right? Eddie has all the time for him. Eddie was here last year, before last year, when he fighting after Happy New Year. Yeah. Eddie was here in Christmas, New Year, everything for him. And he win with Campbell, and then happened something with him. So I don't know. I'm not sure, but Eddie have all the time for all the fighters. You ask Oscar, you ask everybody. If you discipline and you have the time to put in the gym, and train really good, you put discipline, Eddie is always gonna be there with discipline too. Because I'm being with Eddie a lot of years, so I saw Eddie when a lot of fighters come to the gym and really good fighters, and he come all the time. But if he saw, you come today, train 20 minutes and then go, and then you don't come 4 days or 3 days, okay, and then next day you say, hey, I come in at 12 and you come at 2, so you need to be disciplined, right?
So this was Ryan's reply. Canelo doesn't know the facts. The first camp I had with Eddie went great, then everything went bad. He only showed up 2 weeks before Fonseca fight, and that's when I first asked my manager to talk to him about finding a new trainer. Virgil Ortiz left because Eddie never showed up. Frank Sanchez had a fight where Eddie only showed up the day before the fight. So ask Canelo to explain that. Let's stop the back and forth and focus on the fights at hand. By the way, got nothing but respect for Eddie. It's just the truth. So as you can see there, right, the issue that Canelo's putting out there is that Ryan Garcia has a discipline issue. Okay, that he's not disciplined, he's not committed, he's not willing to be a all year round fighter and work with Eddie day in, day out. He also comes in, doesn't feel like training, leaves after 20 minutes or whatever it is, or says he'll be in at 12, doesn't turn up till 2 o'clock. Of course, Eddie's not going to wait around for him and stuff and get on with it or go on and do other things with his day. Okay, there could be an element of truth to that. But at the same time, remember, you're dealing with a guy who's suffering from mental illnesses, right? So I believe he suffers from depression and anxiety. Okay, and you know what? There's a lot of YouTube channels out there who are picking on this kid, is literally what I'm going to say. Yeah, picking on this kid because of his mental health issues. All right, a lot of people are out there saying it's fake, he doesn't really have it, it's his way of avoiding fights, etc, etc, etc. Okay, I watched an interview recently, the announcement of his next fight, I can't remember the guy's name, etc, but he's basically saying in that interview, he was talking and he was asked about the Canelo situation, but I was looking at his facial expression, his body language, how he was coming off. And he doesn't sound like or look like a guy who's in a good place right now. To me personally, just looking at him, I felt like there's not the usual enthusiasm we've seen from Ryan Garcia in the past, where he's cocky, he's loud, he's energetic and stuff like that. I looked at a Ryan Garcia who looked like he was down or lacking in energy. Yeah. Okay, and his facial expression said it all. His mum was standing literally behind him while doing this interview with is it Marcus Vegas from Fight Hub? Yeah, it was that interview. Okay, and he didn't look very energetic, but he was asked about Canelo and that whole situation. And when asked at the end by Marcos, like how things, like, you okay with like Canelo and Eddie, he goes yeah, and his mum was immediately about to jump in and say no, that's it, no more, and tell Marcos no more questions, kind of thing. She was there like worried for her son. Okay, and you could see her face, she had a look of concern on her face. Yeah, like a mother would do for any son or any child, daughter, etc. Yeah, be that protective mother that all our mothers, come on, we all got mums, we know what our mums are like. Yeah, she was there literally wanting to protect him, and when that question got put to him, she was just about to jump in and say no, don't ask that question, we're not going to answer that kind of thing, because she was concerned like what effect it was having on Ryan. But Ryan quickly answered it, and she just like backed off, put her hand to her face like okay, cool, kind of thing, and then ushered him off. But she's there, you can see her in the background, and I think that's before that she wanted to end the interview, but once it got into that conversation. So for people to turn around and say, oh, he's faking all this stuff, like, don't get me wrong, keyboard warriors, yeah, keyboard warriors, we all know what keyboard warriors are like. Yeah, in my opinion, keyboard warriors are one thing and they equal cowards. Yeah, that's why they're doing it behind a keyboard, all right? And yeah, you could turn around and say, well, you're doing the same thing, whatever. Yeah, but I'm not the one picking on some kid who's suffering with mental health issues. Yeah, and a lot of people out there like, oh, you know, just man up and all this sort of stuff. Like, okay, but let's not forget that suicide rates among men are the highest they've ever been, and that's globally. Okay, all right, and the reason for that is because men are told to man up. Yeah, men at the same time, like, and don't get me wrong, I know some people who suffer from mental illnesses. I've seen it with my own eyes. Yeah, okay, and you're human. Yeah, you have emotions too. All right, and this kid has literally been picked on for that reason. Yeah, it's one thing for him to turn and say, I'll fight this guy, and then he pulls out. Yeah, which we have seen. Yeah, and I talked about this in a couple of podcasts ago about the whole, you know, lightweight situation at the moment. Yeah, with Devin Haney and all that sort of stuff. Okay, but the one thing I'm not going to do is pick on this kid and accuse this kid of lying, and he's not feeling, you know, he's not feeling the way he's saying he's feeling. It's all a lie, it's a cover up to get out of fights. Sorry, when I saw that interview with him, yeah, I didn't see the same Ryan Garcia I've seen, you know, in the past. So for people to say that is completely wrong, right? Now, going back to what Canelo was saying, okay? All right, like I said, I know loads of people who suffer from mental illness issues. Not loads of people. I know people who have dealt with it, okay? And what Canelo is describing in terms of a lack of discipline, this kid's gone from being a guy who's been pretty disciplined to the sport. We've seen him on YouTube and blah, blah, blah. He looks like he's been pretty disciplined, to now suddenly he's got a discipline problem. Is that in line with what's going on with him mentally and emotionally? You know, that's about that pickup. I saw Teofimo Lopez even, you know, mock him and make a comment like, I don't know what he's talking about. You know, the gym's the best place to be for your mental illnesses, and it keeps your mind focused and strong and stuff like that. Cool, but not everyone's. It's not the same for everyone. You know, what works for Joe doesn't work for Frank. Yeah, everyone struggles with different types of or level of mental illness. And this kid might be going through something different. So it sounds like that sounds like someone coming in and saying that, oh, after 20 minutes, like, I don't want to train, and goes home, or is struggling, comes in 2 hours late for his training sessions, okay, is someone who's probably getting up in the morning saying, I don't want to go, I don't want to go, I don't want to go, and then finally gets up and says, actually, I'm going to go, and then goes in at 2 o'clock and still turns up. Yeah, your job is to help that guy through that. Now, I get it. Eddie's got plenty of fighters he's got to work with, but have an understanding of what the mentality of that person is at that moment in time, which is he's struggling to motivate himself and get himself up for it. But then eventually, you know, he's got up and said, you know what? No, I'm going to go in. I'm going to go in and train today. Yeah. And regardless, even after 20 minutes, if he says, oh, you know, I don't want to do this, I want to go home. I want to go back home. All right. Yeah, he's allowed his anxiety, etc., to get the better of him in that situation. But you got to understand where he's coming from. You know, he's dealing with demons in his head right now that, you know, that are getting in the way of things. And but credit to the kid, he's still trying. And this is what people aren't seeing. He's still trying to get up and go into the gym. Yeah. Maybe he needs a trainer that's there more with him and understands what he's going through a little bit more and able to tap in with him. You know, maybe he needs someone who's a little bit more disciplined and tough. Because he said in this interview, he said about Joe Guzman, his new trainer, he said it's like, he goes, it ain't easy, man. It's not easy in this gym with Joe. You know, it's like, he goes, it's very disciplined. And he turned around and said, it's like Navy SEALs. And he was like, shout out to all the Navy SEALs. Yeah, so maybe that's what he needs. Maybe he needs that. Maybe he needs someone who's a little bit tougher. Maybe someone to take a bit more of a father approach with him, that strict father approach with him. Like, no, come on, you're not going to give up. Let's get on with this. You know, instead of accepting like, hey, go home. You got to do certain things with someone who's dealing with that sort of stuff in his head. Yeah, and it sounds like Joe Guzman might be tapping into that a little bit, being able to tap into that a little bit with Ryan, which maybe Eddie couldn't do it, and Eddie didn't. And this is not me knocking Eddie Reynoso. Maybe Eddie doesn't know how to deal with someone who has mental health issues. Yeah, And that's where the problem's broken down. There's a lack of understanding or of how to deal and help Ryan from Team Canelo, whereas maybe Joe Guzman's better at dealing with Ryan Garcia and his mental health issues. You understand? And he knows, okay, I know how to get this guy motivated and get him in the gym and get him focused. And Eddie might have had that problem. He didn't know how to do with that. Maybe he's never dealt with a fighter who's suffered from mental health issues. Who knows? Yeah. Okay. I'm not saying these are facts. I'm just giving my take on it all. Yeah. Okay. But he's also mentioned other things there, Ryan Garcia, where he's talking about, Virgil Ortiz leaving Eddie Reynoso because Eddie Reynoso wasn't giving enough of his time to him, and went and joined Robert Garcia instead. Yeah. Here's an example of that. Apparently, Andy Ruiz has not turned up for a very, very long time to Canelo's gym to train with Eddie Reynoso as well. Unless those fighters, I'm pretty sure, not a while ago, didn't it come out that, Virgil Ortiz said something about he felt like, he wasn't getting enough time with Eddie Reynoso in the gym. I don't know. I'll have to look it up. I haven't got it on me right now to find out, to say whether that's true or not. But there's other fighters who've not showed up as well, who've not returned back to the gym or have left the gym. So could there be some truth to that? Could it be that Eddie Reynoso's main focus is always going to be Canelo Alvarez and he's always going to get the bulk of his time? I understand why that would be the case, because Canelo is a superstar of boxing. He's a friend of his. They started out together and they're still together. Do you know what I mean? So there's loads of things here to factor in. Yeah, and I think, but for people to turn around and say, this guy's just, what's the terms the Americans like to use? This guy's just a snowflake. I've seen that in comments as well. Yeah, I've seen a lot of abuse towards this kid. Leave the kid alone. He's going through something. I believe he's genuinely going through something from what I saw from that interview that day and the reaction of his mother in the background. Yeah. Stop it. Yeah. Let's just put it this way. I personally think, my opinion, that Eddie Reynoso didn't know how to manage, not only he knew how to train, he knows how to train a fighter, we know that, but he didn't know how to help Brian manage his mental health issues. And you do have to help him with that. Yeah, you do have to. Okay. Yeah, we've heard Ben Davison talk about it with Tyson Fury recently. Go watch that interview. Who did you do that with? Was that with Talk Sport? I think so. Yeah, go listen to that. Yeah, you got to know how to manage that situation, and if you don't, you either need to seek help to find out how you can manage that situation in the gym better, maybe with an expert or something, or the best option for the fighter is to find someone else that can help him and give him that time. And I think that's why he's gone to Joe Guzman, because I don't think Joe Guzman really has. I know he's on PBC commentating team, or the Fox commentating team, sorry, but Guzman, I don't think he has a lot of fighters out there like top elite level fighters anymore, so he's not out there as much as he used to. So maybe he can commit more time to Ryan Garcia, which is what Ryan needs, someone there constantly with him all the time, giving him that attention that he needs to help him with his boxing, but also help him mentally as well. Do you see what I mean? So maybe that's the case, and I think maybe there's a massive misunderstanding probably here, where one side has a lack of but when you come out and say certain things, yeah, then the natural reaction is that Canelo's going to naturally defend Eddie, Eddie's going to defend himself, and then Ryan's going to come out and say, well, hold on, he's going to defend himself as well. Because remember, like, at the same time, even though he's got mental health issues, there's an element of pride there as well. Instead of saying, like, I just think Eddie didn't know how to help me with, manage my mental health issues, so his best choice was, and I needed a lot more time from Eddie, and I needed to go join Joe Guzman, where I was going to get that time and that attention that I need to help me get in the gym every day. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, if that makes sense. There's a lot of ifs and buts. It's an iffy one to kind of break down, but that's my take on it. And there's no, like, I'm not slagging off Canelo or Eddie Hearn at all. It's not their fault, but I don't think it's Ryan's fault either. I think it's just a chemistry that doesn't work anymore. It might have worked at the beginning when Ryan was in a better place mentally, but now Ryan's not in such a good place mentally and he's trying to come back from that. I think it doesn't work anymore. because maybe there's a lack of understanding on one side, and there's more of a demand on the other side, which is Ryan, that he needs more attention, if that makes sense. So he's gone to a trainer who can give him that attention. But now when you spin it out in the public and you listen to these interviews when they're poking questions at him, and then you hear the fanboys and the negative boxing fans out there who like to go around, the keyboard warriors, shall I say, you know, making their comments and their remarks about Ryan Garcia, I feel like, you know, it ends up looking bad. But of course, to the uneducated mind, or the person who's ignorant in the ways of mental health and stuff like that, they're seeing it spun, or they're perceiving it in a different way. Like Ryan's maybe making excuses and Eddie has got plenty of time for him, or, you know, Eddie's not making time, he doesn't care enough about his fighters, he only cares about Canelo, so he's only giving those fighters a certain amount of time so he can still pick up a check, which would hurt his reputation as a trainer, because Canelo's going to retire one day. If he's going to continue training after Canelo, if he's going to continue training fighters, then he must build a strong reputation for himself. So I don't believe that to be true. But there's, you know, I just think it comes down to that, where there's a lack of understanding on one side of Ryan's mental health issues and the needs that go with that. And then on the flip side, Ryan as well requires more attention, and he wasn't getting that attention and that help with not just his boxing, but with also helping him focus better. That might not, you know, that demand has gone up. So the best thing to do is split, you know. But at the end of the day, look, you know, we're not behind the scenes. You know, I can only analyze from what I'm seeing or what I'm hearing. I think a lot of people are just, I think a lot of people out there are just ignorant to mental health and the things that come with it. And don't get me wrong, years and years ago, I probably would have thought the same way. Not as, I would have been as cruel about it like some people are being out there, but I'll be like, I don't get it, just get on with it kind of thing. But, and I have to admit that, but we're all like that until we experience it ourselves, until we know someone that's close to us that's experiencing it, you know, and seeing it for our own eyes in someone that we love, or whether we're seeing it and looking in the mirror and seeing it, you know, you're never going to understand it properly. So I think there's just like I said, I think there's a complete lack of chemistry now between the two, you know, between Ryan Garcia and Eddie Reynoso. And I think it's for those reasons. I think there's a lack of understanding, I think maybe on the other side, or what, you know, what kind of support Ryan needs in his, you know, in this hard times, or this hard battle of his right now he's going through, that he's trying to come back from. And Ryan, obviously on the flip side, you know, is requiring more attention. But you never know, you know, later on down the line, you know, this is boxing, a year or 2 years down the line, before you know it, the guys are working with each other again. But look, end of the day, that's just my take on what I'm seeing right now, you know, and everyone's entitled to their own opinion. I get that. But I think you've got to look at it you've got to try and be objective with it as much as possible, and have a real understanding for what's going through Ryan Garcia's head as well. But anyway, I don't want to spend too much more time on this. That's just my take on the whole Canelo Ryan Garcia back and forth that we're seeing at the moment. So here we've got Demetrius Andrade news. WBA middleweight champion Demetrius Andrade will move up to 160 pounds and travel to the UK to fight Zach Parker, whose promoter Frank Warren won the purse bid and will pay Andrade $1.2 million and can become the mandatory for Canelo, or fight David Benavidez for interim unification. Interesting, because I talked about this the other week, and Andrade, you know, with Andrade, it's difficult for him to get fights, but David Benavidez's promoter was on the Boxing Voice a few weeks ago, and he basically said that with Canelo, he would take a pay cut because it's a legacy fight, and he would want to ensure that that fight happens. And Canelo's completely happy with the finances he would be getting for that fight. Yeah, okay. And with Demetrius Andrade, however, he said that it would have to be more than $7 million is what the offer would have to be, because, you know, Andrade is not an unattractive fight. He's a great fighter. He's a difficult fighter. There's a lot of risk involved in that fight because of how good he thought Andrade was as a fighter. You know, so a high risk fight with a low reward would not tempt Benavidez to want that fight. He would want the he would want it to be a high-risk fight with high rewards, if that makes sense. Yeah. Now this has come out, and Eddie Hearn, I'm sure, has heard that interview. I think, did Eddie Hearn put an offer out to Benavidez? I think I heard something like that. I'm not too sure, but anyway, whatever. Moving on, yeah. Going back to what I was saying, I mean, but it seems like this is a little move to kind of get either one of those guys in the ring with ANDRADE. So if he wins, he can become, you know, the mandatory for Canelo, or he can, you know, another fight can be ordered where he fights David Benavidez for the interim unification. I don't know whether that tactic's going to work, because I think Al Heyman will turn around and tell David Benavidez, no, you're not fighting him. We'll get you the Canelo fight another way. Because obviously Al Heyman, right now, you know what? All boxing promoters do this, right? They want to keep everything in-house and they want to control everything themselves, all right? And it's no different with PBC. They're keeping everything in-house. You know, Chris Colbert lost the other night, the other weekend, you know. And funny thing about Chris Colbert, I wanted to do a fight night rewind on this, but I've not had a chance to do it. But you know, Chris Colbert lost and stuff like that. But you know, again, it's everything's been kept in house. You look at Gervonta Davis, like even Chris Colbert has been kept in house. Gervonta Davis has been kept in house, and you know, you look at Errol Spence Jr., it's all been kept in house. You know, I don't think, you know, Al Heyman is going to allow for David Benavidez to fight DEMETRIUS ANDRADE in a mandatory situation. If that fight happens, I think he's going to make sure he milks Eddie Hearn for every cent he can out in the US, you know. And I think David Benavidez at the same time will probably agree with that, saying, no, I'm not doing a mandatory. If you want me to fight DEMETRIUS ANDRADE, you're going to have to pay me serious money. Yeah, I'll fight him. I've got no problem fighting him, but I want the risk. I want the reward to match the risk, if that makes sense. Disappointing if this turns into a political situation where we don't get to see a fight. And remember, the other week I also talked about how these guys who are dying for a fight with Canelo Alvarez, and Canelo Alvarez has come out and said this publicly, that they're all just waiting for a payday with me, and I get it, I know that, but they all need to start fighting each other. You know, while you're waiting around to get a shot against me, you all need to mix it up and fight each other, which is exactly what I said the other week. And I still stand by that and I agree with it. But I feel things like this, the whole business end of it, and I talked about that last week as well with Lou DiBella and Eddie Hearn and that whole situation, Devin Haney, Cambosis and all that. The business side of things gets in the way of making fights. I think fighters alone, if you sat them in a room, they could draw up a contract and sign a deal. Yeah. But obviously you need financial advisors in that room and stuff like that, and lawyers and whatnot. And when those other voices get involved, that's when the problems occur. And I can see that happening in this situation, that we may not see this David Benavidez versus ANDRADE fight. Disappointing, but this is Eddie's Hearn way of countering having to pay Benavidez $7+ million to fight ANDRADE. You know, well, let's do it this way. If we do it this way, then we don't have to pay him that much money, Demetrius, and you still get the fight. Yeah, sure, you know, you don't have to take a pay cut. Do you see me? Which means in turn, Eddie Hearn doesn't have to take a pay cut either, right? But that's promoters. But Al Heyman on the flip side would say, wait, you know what? We'll do it another way, you know, and make sure you get that money, you know, so you get a nice big paycheck out of it, and I get a nice slice out of that paycheck, you know. Al Heyman would be saying that to his fighter as well. So it's both sides of the promoters and the business end of it are thinking that way. And of course, that means we, the boxing fans, miss out when fights like this don't happen. Hopefully they can, because this fight can get made, because I think ANDRADE definitely needs it. David Benavidez definitely needs it as well. They're both pulling out a lot of fighters, yeah, and they're not getting anything back. We know David Benavidez has been after Plant and Charlo, which are easy in-house fights for them to make. It's not happening. We all know that DEMETRIUS ANDRADE is called out Triple G, Canelo, Charlo, all that sort of stuff. And again, those fights aren't happening. So these two guys who aren't getting the fights they want and calling out by calling people out, they fight each other. That's a great thing for the sport, yeah, and for one of their careers, right? In terms of moving on and getting potentially that Canelo fight down the line. But we'll have to wait and see if it actually happens. Yeah. I'm not banking on it. You know, I know earlier on I was saying be positive about these sort of things, but like, you know, when you watch the sport long enough and you start to understand the politics involved, yeah, you know, we'll have to wait and see. That's all I'm going to say. Okay, quick little update. Obviously here, you know, about Alexander Usyk. Obviously, as you know, there's a conflict going on in Europe at the moment between Ukraine and Russia, and Alexander Usyk, Vladimir Klitschko, Vitaly Klitschko, and now Lomachenko also have all committed to go back home to help defend their country against Russia in the war and the conflict that they're involved in at the moment. And, you know, credit to all four men for going home and showing such courage and, you know, commitment to their country and that cause. It's terrible what's going on out there. Of course, you know, I don't condone war. None of us condone war. It's the innocent bystanders and the poor and the working class that suffer the most in those situations. You know, let's be honest, the rich and their families and the politicians and the corporations, they don't suffer because they don't go to war. They just profit off it. You know, war is big business for those people who don't quite understand that. You know, maybe you should need to go away and educate yourself on that. But it's the people that suffer, you know. In my opinion, I'm going to give my opinion because I am going to talk about the WBA's decision regarding DEMETRIUS Bivol as well. In my opinion, war is and the reason I say the working class and the poor suffer from it the most is because, one, they have to go and fight their wars for them. So when I say there, I mean the governments. They have to go and fight the government's wars for them. Yeah, which means they put their lives on the line. Okay, on top of that, we have to fund their wars for them. Okay, we have to fund the government's wars for them through our tax contributions. Right, and then if they're fortunate enough to come back from war, you know, and I hope they do, and I'm talking about people in general, you know, but lives do get lost in war, we know that. But if you do come back, and then they have to work doubly hard because the taxes increase, because the economy is suffering due to the war, and now you're having to work even harder now to pay for the damages caused in that war and in that conflict, because naturally taxes rise, which means you're having to work harder now because you're not getting as much money as you did before, etc., and stuff like that, and you're having to pay for the damages of that conflict, if that makes sense. So it mainly affects the poor and working class, and it's a terrible thing to happen. And obviously my thoughts are out there with the everyday average person who's suffering out there at the moment, you know. But there's other things I want to touch on about when it comes to that subject. That's why I kind of left it to the end. But you know, it's sad to see what's going on. But here we go with Alexander Usyk and what he had to say. Alexander Usyk has indicated that the Anthony Joshua rematch is in doubt as he defends Ukraine from Vladimir Putin's invasion by Russia. I really don't know when I'm going to be stepping back in the ring. My country, my pride are more important to me than a belt. That, you know, there'll be an absolute uproar if they did that. Yeah. So again, this delays the fight depending on how long this conflict continues for. You know, this could go on for the next 6 months, it could go on for the next 12 months, it could go for the next 2 years, who knows. Maybe if it went on for a year or two, then maybe they would turn around and say, listen, look, we got to keep the sport going, so we're going to have to strip you for now, but we'll put you in recess, a champion in recess, and when you're back in the ring, you can immediately ask for a rematch, you know. But depends again. It all depends on how long this conflict's going to happen. And like you just heard, Alexander Usyk, he doesn't give a damn about a belt. He cares about what's going on in his home country at the moment, and rightfully so. This gives AJ the opportunity now, I suppose, either have more time to prepare for Usyk, or even have a couple of interim fights in the meantime. Yeah, meaning, you know, maybe go take on some other top opponents and stuff like that, while he's waiting for his rematch with Alexander Usyk. Who knows? But it's clear to see, I think we all knew this already, that we weren't going to see this rematch anytime soon. Yeah? Okay, so we're going to get into this topic now, yeah? Canelo, Bivol. will be non-title fight if WBA won't sanction because Bivol is a Russian citizen. Okay, now before I continue, and I'm going to repeat what I've said just a minute ago, I am in no way in favor of war. I am in no way in support of what Vladimir Putin is doing and Russia are doing in the Ukraine right now. I've made that perfectly clear before anyone starts coming on here and saying I'm some sort of Russian or Vladimir Putin sympathizer. Okay, because I'm not. Yeah, I don't agree with any war. There's loads of hypocrisies at the moment going on right now. There's a lot of double standards going on right now in this topic of Ukraine versus Russia right now. All right, in this conflict, there's a lot of things going on right now that I don't agree with. Okay, and one of those things is I don't agree with the conflict at all. Yeah, so I'm in no support of Russia or what Vladimir Putin is doing right now. Let me make that really clear before you leave ridiculous comments accusing me of such things, because I know what people are like out there. Yeah, I know how narrow-minded people are. I know how ignorant people are. I know how much people trust mainstream media, which if anyone who is educated will know that mainstream media all mainstream medias are government propaganda machines for their said government. Yeah, so for example, the mainstream media in the US literally work for the US government. The media in the UK work for the UK government. Yeah, same the ones in Russia, they're going to side with the Russian government, etc., etc., and so on and so forth and so forth. Yeah, people who don't do their own research and just believe the mainstream media, I'm going to be honest, I think are ignorant and, in my opinion, are, sorry to say this, I feel like a bit gullible. That they think that because they watch the news, they are informed and they know everything that's going on with it. They know the truth and they are always in the right. If you don't do your own research and look into things for yourself, yeah, you shouldn't believe anyone or anything. Yeah, if I tell you something, you should go and do your own research on the back of it, is what I'm saying. You shouldn't just take my word for it. Okay, I always believe that. Even if a friend tells me something, yeah, or gives me their opinion on something, I will do my own research on it, because I'm not just going to take their word for it, because everyone holds bias and prejudices and stuff like that. Everyone picks a side. If you're not able to be objective, you will always pick a side. And when you pick that side, you will not back down. It's human nature. And you will defend it to your death, in my opinion. Okay? You will defend it to the death. Even if you sit there thinking, oh, maybe I'm wrong on this, yeah, you still won't admit it and you will defend it to the death, because you don't want to admit you're wrong either. Right? Everyone thinks they're in the right. I'm not going to lie. Yeah, everyone thinks that's human nature also. Yeah, that everyone believes that they are right. And whoever is in front of them saying the opposite to what they're saying, they are wrong. Come on, we witness that as boxing fans within the boxing community here on YouTube all the time. Yeah? So, I'm going to repeat, I am in no way in support of what Vladimir Putin and Russia are doing to Ukraine right now. I don't support any war or any conflict of that kind of nature. Do we understand? Good. I also kind of want to just quickly elaborate on what I just said about mainstream media. You'll find there's a lot of people, certain mainstream medias will support certain parties. So out in the US, for example, I think Fox is very much in support of the Republican Party, and you have CNN who really support, from what I can see, it feels like the CNN support a lot of major supporters of the Democrats, right? You get certain similar fractions like that within the medias as well, but again, they're pushing the government agenda. So I just want to make that really, really clear, all right? And when I say ignorant, it doesn't mean you're stupid. That's not what I'm saying. Yeah, it means ignorance. What is the meaning of ignorance? Lacking in knowledge in said subject, which means you basically are just listening to what the media is telling you, but you're not actually going off and doing your own research. Therefore, you're showing ignorance in that subject, because you've not fully understood what's going on, or you've not seen the double standards or the hypocrisy. So when you get into that debate and then someone sits in front of you and shows you evidence of what they're talking about, you don't look too smart in that area, in that situation, because you've not done your research properly. You just blindly believed whatever you've been told. All right. So ignorant does not mean you're stupid or you're not smart. It just means you're lacking in knowledge in whatever subject you may be talking in. Yeah, and I feel like in this situation, I think there's a lot of ignorant people out there. Yeah, but the last 2 years has also kind of showed me that as well. Don't get me wrong. All right. But anyway, let's get into it, right? So we got the WBA here now saying they're not going to sanction Bivol potentially, yeah, because he's a Russian citizen. Right, here's a tweet that was put out by the president of the WBO recently as well. So not the WBA. This is a tweet from the WBO president. Is it Paco? I can't pronounce his last name. I'm not even going to try. But here it is. I'll read it out to you. WBO is considering not to sanction world titles and regional bouts in Russia, and not including Russian boxers in its rankings for as long as the invasion on Ukraine lasts. Okay, so that's what the WBO has to say. I've already told you what the WBA is thinking about, and I've told you what all the major sanctions as a whole are thinking about in terms of Russian athletes, and in particular Russian boxers here. Yeah, we've got Vladimir Klitschko here, who's put out a tweet saying no more Russia in international sports. Okay, so he's kind of pushing for the whole, you know, exclude Russia completely from all sports and all activities in terms of the sporting world, which I understand where his passion is coming from, because he's obviously Ukrainian and it's his country that are at the moment that are suffering in this conflict, right? And it's the Ukrainian people, as I talked about earlier, that are suffering in this conflict. So I understand where his thought process and where he's coming from in that sense as well. However, can I full-heartedly say that I agree with this action? No, I don't agree with it, because I believe there are double standards and hypocrisies involved in all of this. Okay, and I'm going to go through some of those points that I feel are relative that aren't being spoken about, especially in the mainstream media, or it is being spoken about and it's being avoided or ducked in a sense. Yeah. Here's what I think, yeah. So for the WBA who want to do this, for example, we're going to use Bivol in this example as an example for this, yeah. The WBA want to are saying that they may not sanction Canelo versus Bivol as a title fight, okay, because Bivol's a Russian citizen. My point is, are we being fair in this situation? And the reason I ask that question is one, Bivol is one man. Yeah, there's plenty of Russians in Russia at the moment protesting, from what we can see, protesting against their own government on the war against Ukraine. We've seen it in the past where people have protested here against the war in Iraq and even Libya and places like that. You know, and that's what's happening in Russia at the moment. Okay, so that gives you the sense that not every Russian is in agreement with their government or their political leader, which is Vladimir Putin. Bivol just did an interview where he was asked that question about the whole Ukraine-Russia situation, and he said, I'm not educated in the world of politics to be able to really get in deep with that question. But naturally, you know, he was like, pretty much, he was saying he was against it, and, you know, he feels for the people who are suffering in the conflict, yeah, and, you know, all that sort of stuff. So again, he's not really touching on it in that sense either, and I doubt he agrees with it. You know, anyone who says that, he's probably sitting there agreeing with it. Come on, stop it, yeah. But the fact that we're gonna punish this one individual here now, and maybe potentially many more after that, because their political leader, who they've got no control over. So Bivol's got no control over Vladimir Putin. Vladimir Putin's going to do whatever he wants to do. Yeah. Okay. He's not going to listen to his people. He's going to do what he believes to be right. Yeah. Not me, but he believes to be right. Okay. So Bivol's got no influence on the man. He's probably never even met the man. He's never spoken to the man. All right, but yet we're going to hold Bivol accountable for that. Okay, interesting that. And then we're saying we're gonna take out Russia altogether in terms of international sport potentially as well. Yeah, but in this case, out of boxing. Okay, my point is with the double standards here for me is that why are we not doing this with all situations of conflict where there's war going on around the world, and it's not just in Russia or Ukraine, it's happening in other parts of the world as well. Why are we not taking the same approach with US? And I repeat, I'm going to say it, with US and even UK boxers and athletes. And this is what I'm going to show you on the screen right now. It's an article, yeah, from the New York Times from a few weeks ago regarding what the US currently are doing in Somalia. So you can see what it says in the title of the article. US carries out first airstrikes in Somalia since August. The strike targeted at Al-Shabaab, I think that is, militants who had attacked allied Somali security forces. Now, I don't agree with this either. It's war, it's conflict. I don't agree with any war, yeah? And you can imagine in that conflict, there are the innocent people, the working class and the poor, who I'm mainly talking about, which I spoke about earlier, who are probably suffering in this situation, who are probably even starving, who are probably being abused. There's probably things like rape, etc., war crimes like that, such as that going on. So they're being tortured and traumatized. They may be losing their homes because their houses are being blown up by the bombing, etc., and stuff like that. There's innocent people in here who are definitely being affected. Yeah, I think we all agree on that. Yeah, innocent people always get affected when it comes to conflicts of war. Okay, and yet I am not seeing anyone jumping around saying that let's go and support, let's do fundraisers and help the Somalian people out. I'm not seeing the WBA or the WBC or the IBF or etc., the major sanctioning bodies turning around and saying let's ban US fighters from boxing. We're not going to sanction US fighters anymore because of their government's approach to Somalia, and the innocent people that are getting killed and killed in the middle, who are being caught up in the middle of this conflict between whoever these militia are, and these militants and the US government. It's not acceptable. The US should find a more diplomatic approach, etc., and stuff like that. I'm not going to go into the politics of why this is happening. I have my ideas, and not my ideas. I have probably what's really going on here and why the Americans are doing this over there in Somalia. However, where is the outrage for this? Right now, you've got the Ukrainian government fighting the Russian government. Russia have invaded Ukraine. Yes, that's not acceptable, basically. Yeah, and innocent people are getting caught up in the middle of it. Innocent people are losing their homes. Innocent people are going hungry. Innocent people have lost family members. Yeah, it's sad. Yes, absolutely. We should support those innocent people, those innocent working class, poor people out there who are struggling. We should support them and help them in any way we can. Absolutely. But at the same time, the same is going on in Somalia right now, and we should be supporting and helping them too in the same way, meaning helping the poor and the working class out there, the innocent people out there who are getting caught up in that conflict. But of course, that's not happening. And of course, funny enough, mainstream media, here in the UK anyway, and I do watch US mainstream media as well, I'm not hearing anything about this. Not a thing. And this is why I say you can't trust mainstream media. They're going to push the narratives that their governments want them to push. Yeah, this is a clear example of it. Okay? It's not right. That's one example of the double standards that are going on here in terms of what the boxing organizations are trying to do at this moment in time. Okay, let's go on to another example. So here's another example of it, right? Saudi-led coalition strikes target Yemen capital after drone attacks. Okay. Listen, right, this is another clear example, and it's frustrating that people don't see this and people don't do their own research. It's frustrating to see this as well. Okay, I don't care who's right or wrong in this situation. All I know is that there are innocent people being bombed upon, who are being bombed right now. Yeah, What I do care about is that the fact that there are innocent working class and poor people again here who are probably suffering. Yeah, if the US is bombing Yemen, yeah, that means that they are going to be attacking residential areas. That means these are normal average people who are trying to just get on with their lives, trying to survive, trying to provide for their families, who are caught up in this, in the middle of this. Innocent people losing their homes, losing their family members, going without food, without light, without electricity, without water, etc. What are we doing to support them? Yeah, what are we doing to support them? Are we doing the same? Are we screaming about it all over mainstream media, saying we need to support you? We as people of the West, we need to raise money and support these individuals in Yemen and in Somalia, and in Ukraine? No, we're not doing that. And are the WBA and the WBO and WBC and IBF, are they going to take a stand and say, right, that's another incident which the US are clearly involved in? If you read that article, it's actually the US that have provided Saudi with those weapons, and the UK, I might add. The UK have provided Saudis, UK and US have provided the Saudis with those weapons to attack Yemen. So are we going to now take the same stance as we are with Bivol with Anthony Joshua and Dillian Whyte and Tyson Fury and Josh Taylor? Are we going to take the same stance with American fighters, people who are fighting in America, or American athletes or boxers in this example? For example, Gervonta Davis, Andy Ruiz, Jose Ramirez and whoever, Jamal Charlo, Demetrius Andrade. Are we going to take that same stance with all those fighters out there in the US and say we're not sanctioning their fights? We're not going to sanction any fights in the US period because of what's going on, what the US are doing over in Somalia and Yemen? Are they going to ban? Right, we're not going to allow sanction any fights that take place in Saudi Arabia, because we know some fighters like Anthony Joshua like fighting out in Saudi Arabia. We know Tyson Fury's gone out there and is it Saudi Arabia he did the WWE thing? I think it was, wasn't it? Yeah. Are we going to hold them accountable? This is what I'm talking about when I mean double standards and hypocrisy and the ignorance of people out there who are supporting this. Yeah. If you support this, then you need to support what I'm saying here right now, which is you need to go after everyone who's committing these atrocities against innocent civilians in foreign lands. Our government is not, the UK government, my government, is not innocent at all in any of these. They do the same exact thing. Yeah? Same applies to the US government. They do the same exact thing as what Vladimir Putin's doing right now to Ukraine. But we're not calling them out on it. Yeah? I heard the other day, I'm going to go into the little bit of the politics in this because obviously they tie in with what I'm talking about here in terms of Bivol. Yeah? Bivol. Yeah? So, someone jumped on one of my last podcast, sorry, and said that why should we be allowing money to go back to Russia? And my reply to him, and I know he stopped subscribing to my channel, because I lost a subscriber. And I was like, oh, that's probably him on the back of what I said to him in my reply. And I said, so what? Because of what Vladimir Putin's doing, we should punish this guy. This one guy who has no say over the political outcomes and decisions in his country. Because Vladimir Putin is a communist country, he's in charge, he calls the shots. Yeah, even though that Russian boxer probably doesn't even want to see war, doesn't agree with it. I'm sure he doesn't, because he's got a family of his own, so he doesn't want to see people. He's got friends who are in and family members who probably live in Ukraine. Actually, I remember him saying that in an interview. I believe he does. So why would he be for it? But we're going to punish him because his political leader decided to wage war on another country. But here's my take on this. You got to have the same standard for everyone. You got to hold everyone to the same standard. You can't be hypocrites in this situation. And anyone who isn't holding everyone to the same standards, you're a hypocrite. And this is why I said there's clear ignorance on your part. because you're just believing what the mainstream media is telling you, but you're not searching out to see what is the actual truth, what's the actual deep underlying situation here with this, with all of this. Yeah, let's look at other examples. Let's go back years. Yeah, what was the boxing commissions, the boxing sanctioning bodies, their stance on the Iraq war? We know full well, right? Okay, so, and this is what happened. I had a colleague at work who turned around and said to me, oh, they're calling Putin and his commanders war criminals. I turned around and said to him, I go, that's fair enough, but at the same time, what about Tony Blair and George Bush Jr.? These are guys who waged a war on the Iraqi people based on a lie. There was no weapons of mass destruction, never were found. Yeah, falsified evidence to push that war. Yeah, there was no ties or links between Iraq and Al Qaeda, where Bush was saying, yeah, he's helping them. He was involved in 9/11. And when I remember seeing that press conference, and someone said to him, well, "Where's the evidence? How do you know?" Because we know. Because we know he is. How though? We know he is. That was Bush's answer, or something like that. It was. Yeah, it was ridiculous to watch, and that's been proven that there was no link. Yeah. All right. I'm not in favour of Saddam Hussein. Yeah. Don't get me wrong. I wasn't in favour of the guy or anything like that. Like Vladimir Putin, I'm not in favour of any of that kind of behaviour by any world leader. Right. Okay. But to enter a country based on a lie, so you could steal natural resources like gold, oil, silver, gas, etc., and stuff like that, destabilize it, yeah, destroy its infrastructure, right, destroy its things like its literacy rate, which was 93 before the Americans waged war on Iraq, and now it's down to something like 23%. Yeah, kill 1 million Iraqis, yeah, and along with that, kill thousands of US and UK soldiers, who majority of them would come from the working class and poorer communities within their own countries. Yeah, to do that so you could profit and become richer and more powerful and have more control is wrong. But again, what did these boxing organizations, what did they do about that? What bans did they put on the US and the UK? Yeah, and it works the other way around as well. If Saddam Hussein has done, which he has done things in the past, what action did you take against? Do you know what I mean? You gotta do it both ways. You can't just pick which one you want to. You can't just say we're going to do it with that guys, those guys there, but we're not going to do it with these guys here, because you know why? It wouldn't be accepted in the US. Yeah, if they tried to do that to the US or even the UK, yeah, the US would just push them out of America. The UK would do the same. And they can't afford, these boxing commissions can't afford to lose all that money they make in the US. And the US is the biggest boxing market in the world. UK is pretty big as well in that sense. They make a lot of money of those two sets of fighters. But of course, you know, it's finger pointing. It's only those guys over there. But let's not look on the other side. No, we don't want to see that. You know, it's not fair. Let's look. There's another example. Palestine, Israel. What of the Israeli government, and I'm talking about the Israeli government. Yeah, okay. I hate it when people turn around, because I know some people will come on here, so I've got to touch on this and absolutely block this out. People will come on here, accuse me of being anti-Semitic. Yeah, anti-Semitic. Yeah, again, this is where ignorance comes into it. Do you know anti-Semitic means when you have an issue or a prejudice against Jewish people? I don't. Got nothing against Jewish people. I don't agree with the Israeli government. The Israeli government are not the Jewish people. The Israeli government is a corporation, a government organization. Okay, so before anyone tries to come on here and try and make comments like that, yeah. But what they've been doing to the Palestinians. So has the world united and like we did many years back? Yeah, I remember as a kid with South Africa, right? Back when I was a kid, South Africa during the apartheid, yeah. So for those who don't know, yeah, okay, when the apartheid was going on in South Africa, from what I remember as a kid, I remember that they were banned from all international sports. Yeah, and I remember when they finally that was over and Mandela became the president out there, you know, and I think they had was it the Rugby World Cup out there? Do you remember that? And then naturally, obviously, they started including them back in. But other than that, they cordoned them off, said, no, we're not allowing you in because of the way you're treating black people in South Africa during the apartheid. So isn't that similar to what's going on with the Israeli government and the Palestinian people? Yeah, don't get me wrong, I'm not for any war conflict, yeah, so I'm not a supporter of Hamas or anything like that, guys. Yeah, because, you know, they're not much better in my opinion. It's the people I'm talking about that are suffering. The people. Yeah, not these corrupt governments or organizations that are put in charge of these false states or whatever you want to call them. Yeah, okay. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? It's the people that suffer. The average person is the one that suffers. So what were you doing against what sanctions or rules were you putting in place to ban Israeli athletes and Israeli boxers? Where was your energy then? You weren't showing the same energy then. So again, yeah, another example. I've given you a few examples of double standards and hypocrisy. Have the same rule for everyone, not just for one or two. Okay, and I don't personally think it's fair on that basis to exclude Bivol out of his shot to defend his title against the #1 superstar pound for pound boxer on the planet, Canelo Alvarez. I'm sorry, I don't agree with it. Yeah, just like I don't agree with Vladimir Putin and what he's doing in Ukraine. I'm totally against what he's doing in Ukraine, but I'm also totally against what the US are doing out in Somalia, what the US are doing in a coalition with Saudi Arabia against the people of Yemen. Yeah, okay. I was totally against what happened in the past in Iraq, and I'm totally against what the Israeli government are doing to the Palestinian people. I'm against any kind of behavior like that. Yeah, and I think if you're gonna put these sort of rules in place and these sanctions in place of athletes and boxers and etc., you have to do it with everybody. Every nation on the planet that's currently involved in any kind of conflict like that, you need to do it on all of them, not just one set or the one that the mainstream media is pushing out there because you're afraid of the backlash. Yeah, okay, go after, yeah, absolutely. If that's a stance you want to take, fair enough. I don't personally agree with it because there's double standards right now. But if the boxing commission turned around and said, we're gonna ban Russian boxers from competing, or we're not gonna sanction them, we're gonna strip them of their belts or whatever, cool. We're also gonna do the same with the US fighters because of what the US are doing out in Somalia, and we're gonna do the same with Saudis. We're gonna do the same with this group, that group. Come on. That's what you should be doing then, right? If we want to be fair and we want things to be, everyone to be treated correctly, that's what you want to do. Let's not forget about what's going on in Ukraine as well when it comes to black and Asian students out there right now who are suffering. They can't even get out of Ukraine because the Ukrainian soldiers won't let them on the trains to get out of the country, and the ones that are on the border of Poland, the Polish won't let them in. And they've even got signs up saying no blacks allowed, meaning no black or Asian people allowed over the border. You know, let me play you some of the videos some of the stuff that's going on out there. Actually, before I do go on, yeah, let me say something else. Yeah, it's not like Russia doesn't have any racism in their country either towards black people or Asian people. Yeah. Don't even try and come on here, leave a comment saying, oh, well, you don't think Russia does that. Of course they do. But we're talking about people who are trying to survive, who are in Ukraine right now, who are trying to survive by getting out of the country. Yeah, that includes foreign black, foreign Asian students who are not being allowed to do so, and they're getting no support.
Flag girl go, they're pushing her, they're not letting her go, Is it right? They're not letting the flag girl go. They're not letting the black 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 girl go.
These are the black community. We are not allowing any black people to enter inside the gates. We are all here. It's only Ukrainians that they are allowing in. Even the ones with kids, they're not allowing them in. They only have been here for days and nobody's asking any questions. Only Ukrainian women and kids they are allowing in through these gates. All the places blocked and all are full of black. From different communities, from different countries. Nobody's talking to us.
But not only that, we've also seen news reports for, CBS out in America, and even here in the UK, where comments like, "Oh, you know, these aren't people who are from the Middle East, and these aren't people who are from Asia. These are people, you know, these are blonde hair, blue-eyed Christians. They look like us. You know, these are civilized people, educated, intelligent people, and they've been, you know, all these sort of comments are being made as well." So my question is, where do we draw the line? Because that's not right either. And based on what I've just shown you, and there's a lot of footage like this out on social media at the moment, and a lot of people will say, well, that's social media, you shouldn't believe that. But then at the same time, these are the very same people who will believe what the Ukrainians are putting up on social media about what's, like, there was that one where the Russian soldier was crying and talking to his mum when the Ukrainian lady was phoning his mum for him and stuff like that. Then you can't believe anything on social media, and you need to hold the same standard for everything. You shouldn't even be on social media, right? Okay, but here's my point: where do we draw the line? Do we now take the same action against the Ukrainians because of the way they're treating Black and Asian students in Ukraine at the moment? Do we take that same stance? Do we say, right, okay, we're going to take both of you out of international sports now? So does that mean now we should ban Ukraine from sports because of their treatment of Black and Asian students in Ukraine during this conflict? They've been treated like second, third class citizens. Their lives aren't important. Like, where do you draw the line, I suppose, is what I'm saying. Okay, understand the hypocrisies and the double standards on both sides. Yeah, and this is why I believe that doing this to DIMTRY Bivol is wrong, because you're not holding everyone to the same standard. It's that simple. Okay, I could go deeper into this whole, you know, I saw a good episode on, shout out to Ringside Reporter, another YouTube channel. They did a whole like 2-hour debate talking about this whole situation. It's an American boxing channel, pretty much had the same stance as I did, and same opinion of, they went a lot deeper obviously into the politics of the conflict and everything, and I could do that as well, but I don't want to do that. Yeah, all right, this has been a long enough podcast as it is. But you know, there's double standards and hypocrisy on both sides, guys. Yeah, there's always two sides to every story. But regardless whether there's two sides to every story, regardless of all of that, yeah, I'm going to go back to saying what I've said at the beginning. Yeah, I do not condone war. I do not condone what Vladimir Putin is doing, but I don't condone what the Ukrainian people are doing also to the Black and Asian students. Yeah, and at the same time, it's the poor and the working class that pay the price. And that simple fact is, if you're going to do that to Russia, fine, you can do that, but hold the same standard to everyone, including the US, including the UK, including the Western countries, Western governments. Yeah, because the US are doing it right now to Somalia and Yemen, and God knows how many others. So are the UK. That's my take on that whole situation. Last topic, quick topic. I promise it has been a long one today, I know. If you've stuck in this far, appreciate it. Like, share and subscribe as always, guys. But listen, just a quick one. This is 2 articles or 2 tweets or whatever, and Canelo ALVAREZ years ago saying how Conor McGregor versus Floyd Mayweather was disrespectful to boxing, and yet he's recently just said that he would fight in a crossover fight against Kamaru Usman. Like, I don't know. I don't watch UFC, so I don't know who this guy is, yeah? But he was open to that fight, yeah? Let's not talk about double standards. The thing is, people will protect Canelo out there for this, yeah? Just like how people protected Floyd when he fought McGregor. My point on this whole thing is, guys, stop the double standards, yeah? Stop being a bunch of hypocrites and start calling this stuff out that's going on in the sport, yeah? Now, don't get me wrong, he's only said that he's open to it. He's not actually doing anything yet, okay? So I know a lot of people will come back and say that to me, but here's my take on that, yeah? Just the fact that he said it and said he's open to the idea, that's enough for me to class that comment as hypocritical, you know? And if he was to do the fight, it would be a lot worse because there'll be some serious backlash from the Floyd Mayweather fans out there, I'm sure, okay? But like I said, that was just a quick example of all the double standards we still keep seeing in the sport and in other areas of life, you know? That's how it goes. Listen, I've not really got much else to say, okay? It has been a long one today. Hope you enjoyed it. As always, like, share, and subscribe. Until next time, this is Cyphbox reminding you to keep it real.
I was gonna rip his heart out, I'm the best ever. I'm the most brutal and vicious and most ruthless champion there's ever been. There's no one can stop me. Legs to the conqueror, no, I'm Alexander, he's no Alexander. I'm the best ever, there's never been anybody ruthless. I'm Sonny Liston, I'm Jack Dempsey, there's no one like me. I'm from Nairclaw, there's no one that can match me. My style is impetuous, my defense is impregnable, and I'm just ferocious. I want your heart, I want to eat his children. Praise be to Allah.